So I've been attracting a good number of clients towards me recently who are men who are saying, Jordan, I'm in my mid or late 30s, even in my early 40s, and I've never had a long-term committed adult relationship with a woman. And I want that, and my God, do I feel like somehow defective or insecure or inferior to the women that I'm dating, because it's like there's a fundamental skill set that I never got. So some men I'm working with are actually in their relationship a few months or a year in, and they want to keep it. They don't want things to fall through their fingers and then end up feeling abandoned and incompetent. But I also know men who are single as well, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I dated around and had a lot of affairs, but why is it that the relationship thing is elusive and out of my grasp? And obviously, I'm getting older and this doesn't change. So I'm going to address this circumstance in this video. The first thing I want to say to you, if this is something that you're going through, is that it is actually fairly normal. So the olden days where you would just pair up with the last remaining woman on the farmstead are long, long gone. Many of us live urban lives, many of us live international lives, and even staying in one place for long enough to be in the dating scene and navigate that is elusive. And this is growing. So the phenomenon of the 40-year-old man who hasn't had a relationship with a 35-year-old man who hasn't had that is becoming more and more normal. So don't think for a minute that you're alone. Now, how to deal with this? First of all, if you are single, then there's probably that underlying fear that sometime during the early dates with a woman that you're really attracted to, she's going to ask about your relationship history, and then all those secretive inner thoughts of feeling defective or incompetent somehow are going to rise up, and that could be the moment where everything falls apart. You know, you lose a fundamental sense of respectability or dignity in her eyes, and you're worried about that, and you lose your dignity and your respectability of yourself, and she's just like, what's going on? That's one aspect. You might also think that women have that as a red flag. Wow, 35-year-old man, never had a relationship. Okay, that's too much for me to take on. I'm out of here. Not always true. Everything depends upon how you handle that conversation. So we all know in the early stages of dating with women, she's throwing a number of tests at us. It's like she's throwing balls at us, and you know, are we going to be able to hit those balls in a good way, or are we going to get stumped or caught out by a particular question? She's always testing us. So we have to be ready for that question to come along. And the core thing that I have to say to you, if you're worried about your capacity to lead or be competent in an intimate relationship, and that you're worried that she's going to lose interest in respecting you if you say you've never had one in the past, the core thing I have to say to you is your main work here is to take a stand for your own goodness. And this is an enormous part of my mentoring work. So if I was working with you in person, I'd be listening to where you're at, and I'd be taking a stand for your own goodness. And what does that mean exactly? It means remaining present with her in the challenging conversation, remaining somehow with your chest and your shoulders open, your belly soft and relaxed, and your feet on the floor, and just being able to say, yes, it's true, and it's vulnerable. Part of me feels worried that I'm incompetent or defective somehow. But I tell you what, even though I've never had a relationship before, I've definitely connected with women. I love women, and I am open, and I want to have a beautiful, transformative relationship. Why hasn't it happened in my life? I don't know. I'm figuring out those patterns now. I'm doing the work to understand my own fears or worries, and I continue to do that work. And for sure, I'm going to get the skills, the confidence needed to be able to stay in and lead an incredible relationship. This is your intention. If you're watching this video with a sincere heart, I believe that that's your intention and that's what you're doing. And you can do that, you can commit to that. And you're not making it about her. Oh, but if you just give me a chance, none of that. It's not about her, it's just about what you stand for within yourself. And so the important thing is not that the fact that you don't have relationship experience is a little bit of a black mark. But if you can stay in the present moment and relate to her right here and now in a really admirable way, she's going to have a taste of you right there and right then, that you can stay in relationship in a beautiful way. Well, he never had a girlfriend in the past, but the way he spoke to me about it and about his intention and his commitment going forward was astounding. You know, I built a lot of trust in him then. And there are still aspects where I know he needs to grow, but he's willing to do the work, and I can trust that. And all of a sudden, that challenge turns into a real moment of like, wow, I see this man, and blown away by his commitment and by his power. So of course, the early stages of your dating are not just going to be serious conversations like this. Hopefully you're going to be having fun 90% of the time and enjoying the things that you've got in common, right? Flirting and so on. But this is the moment that's going to arise. Now it's important that you learn how to back this up, right? You can take a stand for your own goodness, but you actually have to be committed to getting those skills and that competency together. And I think there are a couple of ways that you can do this. One, if you have access to an experienced mentor or guide, it can be really, really useful to call them up and get that guidance along the way. I certainly had people surrounding me that I could turn to if I felt lost or in need of some understanding when I went through difficult times in my relationship. In the first year, 18 months, you're gonna run into difficult moments in your relationship that show whether it's gonna stick or you're gonna have to twist, right? So surround yourself with a mentor, with good guidance. If you're lucky, you might even have a men's group or a brotherhood around you. And certainly the deeper I went with women, the more I found value in other good men that I could turn to and say, this is going on, what do you think? You have some men that have built good adult relationships around you. They can give you a sense of guidance. You can go back to your relationship with some more clarity, with some more dignity and power. And then the other thing is to really get a view on what makes a relationship stick and how to build a foundation in year one. And this can be very, very tricky, because if you're the kind of man who has been perpetually single for pretty much all of his life, you become very, very adept at taking care of your own needs, of your own anxiety and your own nervous system, right? And all of a sudden, when you get together with a woman and you're quite blown over because she has a lot of energy and radiance, but also she seems to have a bit of anxiety and she could be a little bit possessive or jealous here or there, or otherwise need you in ways that you don't need her, that can be quite disturbing. And so for sure, one of the difficult things here to grapple with is I look at my girlfriend sometimes and she is anxious and she needs me, and my heart opens and I really want to be there for her and we have a really satisfying moment. Sometimes she comes to me with a need or some anxiety, and all I feel on the inside is like, go and take care of yourself. Because what I would do right now is I would go and have a coffee or like sit and meditate or journal it out or just deal with it internally. Why can't you deal with it internally? Well, it might not be within her capacity to do that. So one of the core things to remember when you're coming together, and what separates like a real committed adult relationship from a recurring affair or a friends with benefits or some kind of lover arrangement, is that you fall in love and you attach, which means that the two nervous systems come together and are impacted by each other's, and therefore you co-regulate. So rather than being an individual who is taking care of his own nervous system, hoping that his lover sorts it out and comes together in a good state for their meeting, you're in the same boat together. And your job, really, for having the pleasure and the privilege of being in the intimate relationship is that you start having to tend to her nervous system, making sure her anxiety is abated. She feels a general sense of being attended to and that she can trust you, and that you're taking care of this unit. And that's what the commitment is. There are many commitments that happen all over a relationship, but I think the fundamental commitment is I commit to partnering with you so that we take care of each other's fundamental anxiety. Because if one person in a relationship starts feeling anxious about anything, it's going to blow up and quite quickly destroy everything that's fun and life-giving and good about the relationship. So as a resource, I'd recommend you turn to the following book. It's called We Do by a psychotherapist called Stan Tatkin. I think this book is fantastic, and what it gave me is just the overview of what it's like for two people and two nervous systems to come together in the same boat. And therefore, are there things that I can do, even if it's only 10 minutes a day, to make sure that the things that cause anxiety, jealousy, possessiveness, and stress in relationship, how can I take care of those things in a systematic way in advance so that my woman routinely feels relaxed, comfortable, and surrendered with me? And I think if you can master that aspect of building a relationship from scratch, you're going to be 60-70% of your way there in terms of skills. There's other things that we can talk about, and we will, and we do talk about in my mastery program, things like handling conflict, things about deepening into the moments where you fall in love and share intimacy, so the state and the love is expanded, erotic intelligence, of course, the learning never ends. But fundamentally know this: take a stand for your own goodness, know that you're not alone, remain committed to getting those skills that you feel that you lack. And the fourth thing is, as a man, I believe that market forces are in your favor. And just because another man has had 3 5-year relationships, or just because the woman that you're dating right now has been in relationship consecutively for the last 20 years, doesn't actually mean that they are more experienced than you in a good way. They might have actually become quite self-entitled. They might have developed quite a lot of expectations and this is who I am in this relationship, don't mess with me. They might have lost a lot of curiosity and openness along the way. They might not have the same kind of purity or innocence or growth minded. And it doesn't mean that any of their past relationships were healthy or a good use of their time either. So not all relationship experience is good experience, bear that in mind. But if you are a man who is fundamentally committed to your own growth and development, if you really want a beautiful, transformative relationship, which means you bring your heart and your honesty to the table and you're willing to listen to her, if you're committed to growth in that way, you are a rarity in this world. And there are many, many women who are yearning for a man who comes from this sense of sincerity and with this mindset. And that once you start to recognize that, it's more a sense of who are you going to choose to undergo this journey with, rather than how am I going to find a good one, or who can I get? The ball is really, really in your court. And it's also a journey to learn how to find your ground, to find your self-belief, your self-worth in this relationship. And it's 100% doable. My own relationship is testament to that. I was shy with women growing up, and my early mid-20s I figured out a few things and was traveling a lot and dating around. And I also didn't begin a fully committed, kind of attached adult relationship until 35. And I had parts of me that worried that I didn't have what it took, but I quickly learned that the quality and the conviction of my relating, and the fact that I was willing to take a stand for my goodness, and the fact that I learned might not have the years behind me, but I know how to relate in this moment and stay true and stay in it with you. The fact that I practice those things saw me through. And I feel that I've been able to lead us in a good way. We're going on 5 years now. It can be done. So if you want to continue and if you want to hear more from me, there are 3 ways. First of all, if you're not already, you can hit subscribe. And with that, I also put out all of my latest writing on Substack. So the link is just below. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, subscribe to me over on Substack so that you never miss a thing. The second way is if you do want to speak to me about any of your own personal questions, my office now is open. I offer a handful of coaching sessions every single month to new people that I haven't met before. So just click below and you can book a session with me in my calendar. And then thirdly, I do lead a number of mastermind courses and live retreats. So if you want to work with me personally over an extended period of time, there are a number of ways that you can do that. As a first stop shop, I very highly recommend my program, Lover, Outlaw, Trickster, Magician. This is a comprehensive guide to your embodiment, how you can build a daily practice that puts you more in touch with different aspects of your own awareness and importantly enlivens the fundamental energy and life force that you feel in your body. Links are all there below. I hope to see you soon in the next video.